Nigeria Inspector General of Police, IGP Kayode Egbetokun on Tuesday visited Plateau State over the series of attacks that occurred on Sunday night in Bassa Local Government Area of the state, which, according to the police, scores of residents were killed. This, as unofficial reports have indicated that more than 51 people were killed, with some of them burnt to death at Zike community by the attackers. According to a news statement signed and made available a few minutes ago by the Force Public Relations Officer, Olumiyiwa Adejobi, the IGP while in Plateau State on Tuesday, reviewed the security strategies and made deployments to the troubled spots. In line with the press release, the police said that, following a series of tragic incidents that occurred in Bassa Local Government Area of Plateau State, resulting in the death of scores of residents, the Inspector General of Police, IGP Kayode Egbetokun, has visited the state, accompanied by senior officers including the Assistant Inspector General of Police in charge of the Police Mobile Force, AIG Funsho Adegboye, AIG Zone 4, AIG Zachariah Ferrer, and Commandant Police Staff College Jos, AIG Nwanyi Polycarp Emeka. Upon his arrival in Plateau State, the IGP visited the State Government House, where he commiserated with the State Governor, His Excellency Caleb Mutfwang, and the good people of Plateau State. During his discussion with Governor Mutfwang, the IGP condemned the attacks and reassured His Excellency that the Nigeria Police Force would carry its best efforts to douse the rising tensions and bring the perpetrators of these heinous acts to justice. The IGP also seized the opportunity to hold a brief meeting with tactical commanders to review strategies employed in the deployment of police operational personnel and operational assets provided to further augment the available security emplacement in the state. The Inspector General of Police has further directed the Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of the Department of Operations, Dig Kwajidali Yakubu, to take charge and oversee the operations aimed at restoring peace and serenity to Plateau State. The Nigeria Police Force once again reaffirms its commitment to the good people of Plateau State and Nigeria as a whole. The force remains resolute towards bringing the perpetrators of these attacks to justice and restoring peace to the affected communities. The police statement ends in quote. It was gathered that more than 51 people were killed and many others injured in the brutal attacks on the Zike Kimikpa community in Kwal district of Arigwe Chiefdom, Bassa Local Government Area of Plateau State in the late hours on Sunday. It was also gathered that some homes were razed down by the gunmen. Residents said the gunmen attacked the community and started shooting sporadically on Sunday night. Meanwhile, Peter Obi, former governor of Anambra State and the candidate of Labour Party in the last concluded presidential elections in Nigeria, narrated his experience after he visited Plateau State to pay condolences in a similar incident that occurred at Bokos area of the state before the Zike community attacks. He said, "Yesterday, I traveled from Abuja to Jos, Plateau State, to condole with and show solidarity with Governor Caleb Mutfwang and the people of Plateau State over the recent senseless killings in the Bokos area of the state. From the state capital, I traveled to Bokos and spent time with the victims, the displaced children and others. What has happened in these communities is very saddening and utterly unacceptable. Nigerians should not be killed or forced to flee their homes when we are not at war. Every life is precious, and no Nigerian, regardless of where they live, should have to live in fear or uncertainty. My deepest condolences go to the families and communities who have suffered tragic losses. No words can truly capture the pain and devastation that such senseless violence brings. My heart is with the people of Bokos, the displaced children, women, and entire communities, during this difficult time." Earlier, the obedient movement had built a borehole to provide clean water for the IDP camp and the community, and we continued the support yesterday with the sum of 7.5 million naira to help in providing facilities for the displaced children, provide continuous education and ongoing needs of those affected. Now, more than ever, leadership and compassion are essential. I stand in solidarity with Plateau State and remain committed to supporting all efforts toward peace, justice, and healing. May the souls of the departed rest in perfect peace, and may the people find strength, comfort, and unity as they rebuild their lives. In another post on Monday, Peter Obi said that, ordinarily, I would not have commented on this issue, as I have endured far worse situations in my political life since I declared for the presidency, and it continues to worsen as I strive to do things in a civilized and organized manner. The unfolding events demand that I have to start speaking out now. On what transpired today during my planned visit to Plateau State, I am not entirely sure that the state governor, my dear younger brother, a reverend father I deeply respect, is aware of this situation. Having exhausted every possible means to reach him, I am compelled to use this available platform to ensure my message is conveyed. On Thursday, the 10th of April, I had planned to visit Plateau and Plateau State, respectively. Plateau on Sunday, the 13th of April 2025, and Plateau on Monday, the 14th of April 2025. My trip included paying courtesy calls to the governors as well as visiting the IDP camps and schools of nursing in both states to give my support. As is my practice, I reached out to the Plateau State government to inform them of my visit, which included spending the day with the victims at the IDP camp in Bokos, a visit I wholeheartedly embraced to extend my support, care, and compassion to fellow Nigerians in need. And in his utmost hospitality, the Plateau State governor graciously permitted. In a similar vein, I tried repeatedly to contact the Plateau State governor directly without success. I then successfully contacted his ADC, who told me that the governor was in a very important meeting and would call me before midnight on the same day. Unfortunately, I didn't get that call until Sunday evening when he sent me a message stating he had not been able to reach his principal since the day I called. I was disturbed by how an ADC would not have been able to reach his principal for 3 days. However, because my visit to the governor was just for courtesy and respect, I decided to proceed with my trip to Makurdi. Earlier today at 7 a.m., I left Jos, and on reaching Akwanga at about 10 a.m., my security team stopped and stated they received a press statement, purportedly from the Plateau State government, that appeared designed to stop my trip. Curiously, while I was still talking with my security team on the issue, the governor's ADC sent the statement directly to me. The letter refers exactly to my itinerary, which I had earlier conveyed to the ADC directly and to the security operatives in Plateau through my own security. I am forced to remind them, and all concerned, that the purpose of this journey is to support good causes in areas of critical development, health and health education and caring for our people in need, and this is what I have done in my private life for years before getting into politics. And even while in politics I have continued to do so. Everyone knew then how I had to get permission from the then President Goodluck Jonathan, that I needed to visit Haiti during the earthquake. I intended to visit a school being built by the bishop in Igboko, a nursing school and an IDP camp, actions that reflect my genuine care for the welfare of our fellow citizens, and my continuous show of love, care and compassion to citizens who have been displaced. May God help us as we rebuild our nation and aim to achieve a new Nigeria where we do not politicize everything but allow citizens to exist, and we all should live for the common good for less privileged Nigerians and those in need. Former Nigeria Vice President and the People's Democratic Party, PDP candidate in the last concluded Nigeria presidential elections, Atiku Abubakar said, "I am deeply saddened and alarmed by the resurgence of violent attacks in Plateau State, particularly the recent killings in Zike community in the Kimikpa area of Kwali District, Bassa Local Government Area, where at least 47 innocent lives were lost on Sunday. This tragedy, coming just days after a similar attack in Bokos Local Government Area, is a grim reminder of the worsening state of security in our country. It is regrettable and entirely unacceptable that these Nigerians had to lose their lives as a result of the incompetence of the Tinubu-led administration. The protection of lives and property is the primary responsibility of any government. Unfortunately, President Tinubu has failed these citizens and continues to fail them. I also condemn the escalating wave of terrorist attacks in Borno State, which, according to Governor Babagana Zulum and the Shehu of Borno, Abubakar ibn Umar Garbai el-Kanemi, has resulted in the loss of lives and territory to insurgents. These disturbing developments underscore the total collapse of the current administration's security policy and architecture. Every sincere Nigerian should be disturbed by how terrorists and bandits operate with impunity, especially in northern Nigeria, which has become the epicenter of this violence. The continued delay in prosecuting terrorists and bandits, some of whom have been in custody since 2016, has only emboldened these mass murderers. If the same level of urgency and energy were devoted to the prosecution of terrorists as we have seen applied to the trials of political critics, we would have sent a clear and forceful message that crime has consequences. Instead, justice is being delayed, and our security forces are being demoralized. The Attorney General of the Federation must prioritize the prosecution of these criminals, and special courts should be established to fast-track their trials. Our justice system must not give the impression that terrorism pays. I am also alarmed by reports of armed criminal groups crossing our borders to carry out attacks. This is a national disgrace and further proof of a failed security framework. Condemnation after the fact is not enough. What is needed are proactive, preventive actions. As long as these criminals face no real consequences, they will continue to return to inflict more pain on innocent people. I urge the National Assembly to urgently pass legislation that allows state governments to properly arm and equip their security outfits with modern weapons. This will strengthen our overall security architecture and help relieve the overstretched federal security agencies. At the same time, I must call on community members to reject collaboration with armed groups and instead support our security forces by sharing intelligence. Security is a shared responsibility. I commend the courage and sacrifices of our security forces. Their efforts remain invaluable, but they need the full support of the people and a government that prioritizes security, not just with words but with decisive action. May the souls of the departed rest in peace. We owe them justice, and we owe Nigeria a safer future, said Atiku Abubakar. Former Kano State Governor, Rabiu Kwankwaso said, I am saddened to learn of the attack on the Zike community, Kimikpa, Kwal district of Bassa Local Government Area of Plateau State, which resulted in the death of 51 people and destruction of several properties. This sad attack came after over 50 persons were killed within a week in attacks over 5 communities in the state. It is important that Plateau State must not be allowed to become a hotbed of violence and wanton destruction again after the relative peace it has enjoyed in recent years. The federal government must rise to its responsibility to ensure that all lives and properties are protected and the message of peace should be embraced by everyone in the state and beyond. I extend my condolences to the government and people of Plateau State. I also urge the authorities to ensure that justice is served by bringing the perpetrators of these heinous crimes to book.
Bringing you the news in a more digital way.